Welcome to Holistically Speaking. I'm Hilary Russo, certified holistic health coach and health and wellness journalist. This is an empowering place to explore self-awareness, self-love, and transformation through health, healing, and humor. By sharing life-changing experiences, knowledge, and guests with varied expertise, we'll explore who we are, how we got that way, and what it takes to be a happy and healthy grown-up. Mind, body, and spirit. I'm glad you're here. If there is one thing I've gotten into the habit of doing more and more as I get older, it is listening to that voice inside me. Call it your gut, your guide, source energy, God, the universe, your ancestors, whatever. The point is, whenever I did go against the voice, I wound up slapping myself for not listening to the messages that were as clear as day. Like a Doppler radar. When I ignore the signs and I leave the umbrella at home, it doesn't mean it's not going to rain. Our intuition is powerful, and to fight it doesn't mean the messages stop coming. If anything, it means they get stronger and stronger until we're ready to hear them. Just ask Vincent Genna. As a kid, there was only one thing Vinny wanted to be, an actor. He had it all planned out, and even had some success on the big screen early in his career. In fact, it's how we met, performing together. The stage is where we both thrive. Go figure. But the thing is, Vinny had a bigger gift that he kept fighting. And it wasn't until he truly started listening that he realized there's more he's meant to do on this earth. That gift was helping others on their healing journeys and finally listening to the signs that were coming his way for so many years. Now, it didn't happen overnight. If anything, it's been quite a journey for this spiritual teacher and psychic therapist who faced his own traumas along the way. It's amazing what happens when we just get quiet and start to listen, isn't it? So on this episode of Holistically Speaking, Vincent Genna shares his story, his humor, his authentic self, and empowers each and every one of us to find our passion and our purpose. And just listen. Vincent Genna! I'm just so excited to share the space with you. I haven't seen you in forever, and just getting to look into your beautiful eyes. And oh, that sounds like a pickup line. I'm going to get in trouble.
I love it.
But seeing you, having so much time that I've spent on stage with you over the years, and here you are sharing your life's work. And just, I'm just so elated to share you with Holistically Speaking listeners. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you for inviting me. It is so fantastic to see you here in this capacity. I'm so proud, and I don't mean that to sound condescending at all, but I'm so proud of what you have done with your life. And you had so much talent when you were on stage and you were giving that way. And now you're giving to the public and the people so much more that helps them, not just entertains them, even though entertaining helps them too. So I just find this exciting, in that we finally been able to link up this way with work and helping and talking.
Yeah, I think we're both in that realm. First of all, thank you. Second of all, you're doing beautiful work as well, which is exactly why I wanted you to come on here and share, because your journey is quite fabulous and is just amazing. And, you know, there are things I learn about you every day that are new. And I'm sure, you know, it's just such an unbelievable journey that you've had. And I just, please share with who you are. I mean, besides being the spiritual teacher and psychic therapist and helping people heal and find their true selves, there's so much more to Vinny, as I know you, than what people who are coming to know who you are.
Well, you know, I'm even amazed at my journey sometimes. Well, a lot of times, quite honestly, because I never expected it to go this way. Because as we stated that we did shows together, that's because I used to be a professional singer, actor, and dancer. And the way that came about actually was as a survival tool for me. See, my youth was one of those tormented youths, and it actually started the day I was born. Now, I'm not saying that, infants hear and they understand everything that's going on in their outer world, but scientifically, they have shown that babies, even in utero, pick up energetically from their environment. And so they tell you, oh, play nice, calming music, whether it be classical or something wonderful. Talk to the baby in your belly, because then they come out calmer and more adjusted. So there has to be something to do with picking up the vibes from the outer world. Well, the vibes that I received in my outer world on the day that I was born didn't even start positively. See, mom had already had a baby and she had trouble with my brother, and she miscarried in between my brother and I. So there was 6 years that went by before she had me. And she was praying for a little girl. She wanted a daughter now. A daughter. Okay, she'd be so proud of me. Um, and so here it is. Now you're going to laugh, I'm sure, but here it is. It's April 1st, and mom goes into labor. Okay. And she's in the hospital, the old fashioned hospital. Dad's in the waiting room somewhere, and they're giving mom medication and whatever they were doing. But as the doctor was delivering me, the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck a bit, so he couldn't get me out right away to show her. That's profound. Whenever I sneezed, it's always because of a profound statement coming up. So
foreshadowing.
It's foreshadowing. And so the doctor announces to my mom, "Oh, you have a baby boy." And she says, "No, I don't." And he said, "Yes, you do. You and Mrs. Genna, you have a baby boy." And she says, "No, I don't. It's a girl. I know it's a girl. I've been praying for a girl. It has to be a girl." That I'm sorry to say I can't do anything about this, but as soon as I unwrap the cord, I'll show you this is a healthy boy. And once he got me unwrapped and he was able to show my mom and put me on her chest, she started crying in grave disappointment. At first, she said to the doctor before she saw me, "Oh, I know what this is. This is an April Fool's joke, isn't it?" And then, "No, Mrs. Genna, this is a baby boy, and I'll show you." So it started off, my life started off that way. And you would ask, how would you know that story? Obviously, you didn't remember it. No, but my mother made sure she told me that story in any time that she was disappointed with me. She would always pronounce that I always wanted a girl and I had you instead. But the problem was, I don't know if it was a problem. I came out pretty good looking.
I would have to say you did. You did all right.
There's a couple of little mess ups here and there, and a lot more wrinkles now. And I was very small and dainty, and I was called the delicate one, and in Italian, delegato, they used to call me all the time, right? Then it passed down, the whole family called me that. And mom treated me very prissily. And why I'm telling this part of the story is because it led to the next stage of my life when I went to school. See, mom, even though I wasn't a girl, she played with me as if I was a girl. She would do my hair perfectly. She would put me in the prissiest of outfits. And she dressed me and told me what to wear and combed my hair until I was 17 years old. And the only reason why I had gone along with it is I was a wimpy type of guy and afraid of my parents. My father was very strong, and he used to beat me as it is, my brother and I, with belts. So I didn't want to do anything to aggravate them, that's for sure. So I went along with mom. And so now send off a prissy looking kid to school in those days. And in the beginning, the first 3 years was okay because I went to Catholic school and I was in a uniform. But then we moved out onto the island in New York, and I went to a public school. And here I am dressed perfectly, like in my Sunday best. As a matter of fact, I only had a couple of outfits because mom and dad couldn't afford very much. So I had good clothes, and then I had really good clothes for church. And the good clothes could not get messed up. And the kids started picking on me. And they continued to pick on me,
Mm.
and it would increase more and more and more. So from the age of, from fourth grade until my senior year, I was chased home from school almost every day, caught, beat up, shoved in lockers, head flushed in toilets, peed on, spit on, stripped, thrown into assemblies for embarrassment, thrown in dumpsters. That was my life. I become one of the fastest runners in my school. I was able to leap over a 6-foot fence with hardly touching it with one hand. Yes, I won awards in track and medal, but that didn't mean anything because anytime I excelled in a sport, they would beat me up even more because they just didn't want me to feel good about myself at all. And so I had all that torment in my youth. But what I did have in my favor is I was an incredible singer and actor as a very young child. And so I was in the choruses and all the plays right from the get-go. And Hilary, I needed this. I
Yeah.
needed this applause because that was the only thing that translated into I had some value and I was liked. This was love to me. So I had to get on the stage. And so I grasped that, held on to it, and thought that I was supposed to be a professional singer, actor, and dancer. So I was pursuing my career that way. And it wasn't going that well, really, because I would get in my own way. Because when you hold on to something like that as a survival mechanism, and that got in my way. Well, I had one little special thing that happened to me, and that was only because of my persistence and obnoxiousness and arrogance and getting into the movie Grease. I was a singer and dancer in the movie Grease. So that gave me a little fame in my hometown.
Yeah.
And it was our high school reunion. And there I was, and almost all 350 students, that was my class size, were there in this hall. And it was totally different. It was a Cinderella story. It really was at the ball because all the girls that used to pick on me came up to me, all the jockettes, all of them, they were surrounding me. Vinny, you're here. Oh my God. Oh, we want to hear all about your experiences in Hollywood and with all, oh my God. And in the movie, they thought I was a star. And then there was the one kid who caused most of my antagonism. He was the class clown / jock.
Mm-hmm.
And when with both of those combinations, you can't lose in school, you know. And he never touched me, but all he had to do was go, Vinny. And that was the cue for all the jocks to pick on me. So this guy was there at the reunion. And from across the hall, Hilary, he yells, Vinny. Well, the entire hall froze because they all grew up and they figured everything changed. But they were wondering, what's he going to do? He's not going to pick on him, is he? He's not going to. And he came running up to me. He hugged me and wouldn't let go, would not let go. No words of apologies or forgiveness were ever exchanged because they didn't need to be. We went all of a sudden to this deeper level and having a great time. Well, he became a really close friend at that reunion.
But let me ask you this. When you heard Vinny from across the room as an adult with this success, with this newfound success, what was Vinny feeling in that moment?
I went like this.
Eyes popped. You're just thinking,
I'm like,
oh,
are you kidding me?
It was inner child Vinny.
It was PTSD.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, I
my
would
gosh.
imagine.
I was like, I froze.
Mm-hmm.
And I was holding my wife's hand and I squeezed it harder, I'm sure. So, but here we are, we're driving home. And all I could do was cry out to God. I said, you got to help me. You've got to help me. God, please, you've got to give me the ability to help him and help people like him. See, having been tormented, I knew what it was like to feel worthless, to have your self-esteem taken away and ripped away from you, to have your ego pounded into the ground. I understood that, and that's what I was feeling coming from him. And so I'm begging God. And when I think back on it, I'm like, why on earth everybody else, when they pray to God for somebody, they ask God to help that person. Please help him. Please do something. I know something's wrong with his life. Help him. I didn't do that. I said, help me to help him. Now, now I understand why I did that. But back then I had no idea. Well, remember that old saying, be careful what you ask for? Within a week, Steven Spielberg and Cecil B. DeMille would have gone to town with the epic movie that was happening to my life.
Welcome to being an empath.
Oh my gosh, that's everything. The floodgates open where we're getting involved with psychics now. And then this information is passing down into my head. And all of this new knowledge is coming out of my mouth. And I'm spewing it like a dam burst open. And now I'm seeing ghosts and hearing ghosts. And I'm telling people what they're thinking and what's going to happen next. And and I had no idea what the heck that was going on there, nor was I interested in it. All of those people that did stuff like that were the kooky people in California that I just moved away from. That's all I knew. When I was out there, there were plenty of them, I thought they were woo-woo loony people. Now I'm one of the Lulu loony people, and probably even worse than them that I thought,
Right. Yeah.
And that's how it began for me. And it was a major shift. But the funny thing is, I couldn't accept that. First of all, I didn't want to give up the acting. I was being told, oh, you're going to be a spiritual teacher. Now you're going to be a spiritual teacher. And I'm going, no, I'm not. I'm going to be a world famous actor. I'm going to get an Academy Award and I'm going to get an Emmy and a Tony. What are you talking about? I'm not a spiritual teacher.
You mean when you were saying you were going to be a spiritual teacher, it was from just your inner voice and your
my inner
intuition.
And outer voices.
Yeah.
It started when a friend of mine spent a weekend at another friend's house, and he had gone to a psychic party. And I'm like, and he comes over and says, oh man, we had the greatest time this weekend, my girlfriend and I. You have got to have a psychic party. And I'm like, what the hell is a psychic party? Like Tupperware? Okay, well, you're going to be able to seal this and keep your food fresh. And I can tell your future is going to be bright because of it. And I'm like, what the heck is a psychic party? So
that's a good concept, though.
Right? Exactly. It is. Well, eventually I was doing psychic parties too. Don't tell anybody.
With Tupperware?
No, not with Tupperware.
I won't tell anybody but all our listeners. It's out of my hands.
I know. Okay, don't. So we had the psychic come to the house. I thought, okay, this will be fun. We had about 20 of my friends, and especially my friend, a good friend of mine and his wife, skeptics. They only came because they were skeptics. I want to know what's going on over here and see. Well, she blows everybody away, but she's the one that starts telling me that, oh my God, I can't touch you. I can't hold your hand. There's so much unbelievable energy. The soul of Jesus is around you, and he's going to give you words, and you're going to become a spiritual teacher within 7 years. Holy cow. And I'm like, let me tell you the reason why I had you over here, because you're the one who's going to tell me that I'm going to be a famous singer, actor, and dancer, and that I'm going to win the awards and everything. That's why I had you come over.
You were trying to push something. And as we know in the universe, you can't force something. The messages come. So.
Oh, I couldn't force it. So not only couldn't I force it, Hilary, but the funny thing is, I then set out to prove her wrong. So here we are. I'm telling Eileen all of this. She's going through. She gets a reading, and of course the psychic is telling her the same stuff about me. And we're like, what is that? What's going on? And so I started pursuing. So a couple of months, about a month went by, because this is pretty close together. Everything was happening within the 3-month period. So a month goes by, and all of a sudden we come to find out Eileen's at a baby shower, something like that. And they advertise that at the local hotel, there's a psychic fair. Long Island doesn't have psychic fair, not where we were living. And then all of a sudden there's a psychic fair. I'm like, when did that? Okay, well, I asked her, we weren't rich then. We were a young couple. And I was like, oh, honey, can I go? Can I go? She says, yes, go and find out what the heck if Doris was right about anything. That was the name of the other psychic. So I go to the psychic.
Of course it was.
Fair.
Doris is the name of a psychic or an agent.
Yes, no, definitely.
Right. She might have been your first agent.
Actually, she was my first agent, really, with everything the way it happened. And so I go and I have no idea. I'm reading the brochures. There's like 15 different psychics in there and past life reader. And so I pick out the guy who does past life readings. I go, oh, cool. I'll go to him. That'll be different. So I sit down in front of him, and right away he turns around and he says, you're a singer, aren't you? And I went, yes, I'm going to get what I want now. He's going to tell me I'm going to be famous. And he turns around and he says, yes, in a past life, you were an African woman who sang for the tribe, and you were the ones who did the ceremony, and your singing brought the other tribes in. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That also explained why I liked African rhythms. I always loved African rhythms, but old, not like the contemporary ones. Mm-hmm. I loved the old ones with the drumming and the beating, and it was so important, and I'd always see Africa. So that kind of explained it for me. It touched me. I went, wow, this guy is good. So he gained my credibility, I'm listening to him. I'm going, go ahead. And he turns around and he said, well, you're going to have to give up performing. He says, because you're meant to be a spiritual teacher. The soul of Jesus is around you. And I'm like, wait a minute, is there a conspiracy with these? Do they talk to each other?
Do you know Doris?
Yes, you know Doris, and I'm like, oh my God. So he winds up telling me the same stuff that Doris did. So now I'm even more curious. And another time I say, okay, I'm going to go to even a better one. And I go to New York City to find a psychic. And that psychic says the same thing. I'm going to be a spiritual teacher. I didn't want to be a spiritual teacher. So I had the gifts, but couldn't accept them. It took until 2008. I'm now 50. How old am I now?
I love that you keep, okay, our listeners do not see this, but Vinny keeps looking off screen because I know you're going to Eileen for the information.
It's like Eileen,
she's like the answer to everything. You keep like, hey, Eileen, how old am I? Hey, when did I become a spiritual leader?
You're right.
You're like, just so funny.
When I look this way, it's Eileen. When I'm looking this way, it's the spirits and the angels that are over here that I'm talking to. Hey, guys, are you here? You're going to help me out with this interview, for goodness sakes, okay?
It's an interesting marriage.
Well, I see Stephen Colbert do it all the time, so I figured I can do it on your show.
You're very true. He does do that. He does
look. He does. He looks at his wife and is laughing. Yes,
How
he does.
Funny. So anyway.
So here I am. I'm already older, and I used it part-time, Hilary, but it was too hard, and this is what people have to understand in their lives. You can stop the growth. You can stop the natural shifting that is meant to take place with humans. And I don't believe that we need a crisis to make the shift, but your soul will do whatever it needs to make that shift.
Absolutely.
So here I'm doing part-time. I even went back to school because I said, look, I'm not putting on my business card psychic. That I might as well put psychic loony afterward because that's what everybody's going to think. So I called myself everything: a transpersonal coach, an intuitive counselor, all around the word psychic. So I didn't have, what am I supposed to do? Call myself Brother Vinny and put a palm outside on the highway next to Sister Sarah? It's just like, no, I know. I could have done my cousin Vinny palm reading. It's just like that would have done it. Yeah, that's what people expect. You said, hey, dumbass, you know what I mean? I said, what are you doing? I can tell already, So I could have brought that in. That was my therapy anyway. It says, what's the matter with you? Stop it. you know? So I went back to school so I can get my psychotherapy degree. So at least I'd have some credentials so people wouldn't think that there was something, loony about me, but I still wanted to use that ability. And I did. Two car accidents in my life changed it completely. One was while I was still pursuing being a performer, and I had a job as a DJ entertainer, right? And I was still pursuing going to New York, doing auditions, but I had my own business. I was entertaining on weekends and doing weddings and bar mitzvahs and birthday parties and stuff like that. And I was continuing down that route, but only part time. I would do readings, maybe every so often. I was doing a lot of research.
When did you actually get your LCSW? Like, when did you get your master's?
Well, I finally got my master's in 1999. I went back as an adult, and I had to go 7 years because as a kid, this is that acting. Remember I said I thought I was too good to go to school? Well, I won a scholarship to Hofstra University, which is a major university, and they're the only ones that has a replica Globe Theater. So Shakespeare was very important to their drama department, and there I get a full scholarship and slept in the parking lot the first semester because I couldn't stand college. I didn't want to go through learning. I didn't have to. I'm good enough. I'm an actor. Actors don't go to college to get degrees. They go and audition. They work on Broadway. They work in movies and television. That's what I was going to do.
You were still in your ego.
Of course it was, but it was my defense mechanism feeding me to compensate for the abuse that I went through and feeling like a piece of garbage. I had to convince myself otherwise. That's why I know narcissists so well.
I get you.
Because it's a compensation, totally.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I just want to preface this. You and I met probably around 2000. I want to say it was like maybe 2003 or 4 because I moved to North Carolina in 2002 and I started doing shows shortly after. And we had done, I don't know, was it My Fair Lady maybe first? Or
was that the first one?
That was the first professional show I did there. And I feel like
I was in Guys and Dolls there. That was mine. And that was 2000. That was 9/11. During 9/11.
So I moved there right after, and within a short amount of time I was auditioning. But I thought you already had this thriving social work or, work as a bereavement counselor.
I did. Yeah. Well, before the bereavement counseling, I was in practice because once I went to school, I worked at UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, in the counseling and psychological services for the students. And then I set up my own practice and they used to refer clients to me. So I was doing that, but my supervisors always would turn around and say, "Hey, Vince, you have a real gift for this. You must have some kind of sixth sense because you can accurately diagnose a patient within 5 minutes of meeting them. And usually we don't want to do that until we see the patient a couple of times." Wow. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess, I don't know what it is. It's that intuition I get. And I'm like, wow, there's where the psychicness was kicking in.
Yeah.
And it was a very thriving business because, well, here's the problem. Now I know being a therapist and having your own practice and being able to help people is really not a good thing because then they don't come to you anymore. And then, so I would have my clients, and after, maybe 3 months of working with them on a weekly basis, they were feeling great. They were feeling better. I don't think so. We had termination, and I terminated and I had no more patients.
But there is a good thing to that too, because as a practitioner myself, like the thing I always say to clients is like, I don't ever want to see you again unless you have something that you need additional support. I'm here, but knowing that you have the tools to heal yourself, because we don't heal anyone. We don't have the tools to heal anyone. We give them
we give
assistance,
them
support, and the tools. Right. So
I empower them.
Right. We empower them, and it's a beautiful thing. But we know that when you build that trust, if they need further support on a different issue or whatnot, here we are. We've already established that bond. But yeah,
Exactly.
we losing clients and patients is always a good thing.
Is always a good thing. And see, the greatest thing about that was when somebody came in and sat in front of me and they would start discussing some things, I was automatically seeing everything that was going on within them, and would help to open the doors a little at a time. I can't tell you how many of my clients actually became spiritual students then. And I wouldn't bring up my spirituality until they did. And inevitably, it always went in that direction. I believe that we can create our own lives, or I believe that. And I'm like, oh, you just opened up a door. Okay. And we would go there. So it switched, and they wanted to learn more, which was great. But then I was getting frustrated because I always had to follow policy regulations, because when you have a license, you can only do so much. And I'm like, I don't want to wait until they tell me what their problem is. If they could figure out what their problem was, they wouldn't need me to start with, and it's going to take them forever. I'm sitting there. I see the block. I see what it is. Let me just present it to them. They still have to do the work. So I stopped. I let go of my license, and I went back to being a psychic therapist. But before I let go of my license, a friend of mine brought me in to do hospice work. So I was a hospice social worker for a few years, and I had about 500 patients that I was working with. And again, I would see their past, I would see where they were going. And so I was able to help comfort them during that transitioning stage, right?
I would imagine that is a whole different realm. Like when I think about working with palliative care and people that are about to embark on a different shift on this realm to the next realm, there's something that really hits you deeply, and you feel a lot, especially as an empath, especially as someone who has, we're more resonant to what others are feeling. I would, just knowing bereavement and palliative care, hospice care is a very unique set of tools.
It is. It was, as far as the tools that I developed, but then I was learning so much from them, because I was learning and I knew that I was being drawn in that direction, or I was being directed there to be able to help the living. So in helping the dying, you learn more about what the living need. And so that was good. Now, and I had mentioned I was in 2 car accidents.
I want to go back to that.
The first car accident actually took me out of my DJ business because I hurt my back. I could no longer, and back in those days when I was DJing, you had to lift albums. It was albums and 45s. And no matter where the hall was, it was 3 flights up. You had to haul those things up there. So I couldn't do any of that work. But I was doing part-time readings, and a couple of the people that would come to me for readings, we established relationship. And, one day I told them I was in the accident. I can't work anymore that way. And they said, why don't you become a psychotherapist? And I'm like, what? I have to go back to school for that. Well, why don't you do that? I get more help from you than I do my own therapist. And so, of course, I talked to my wife about that. We talked about everything. And she said, that's a great idea. I said, but honey, I have no schooling at all. She said, that's okay. You do it full time, but if you do it full time, I'm not going to be able to hold a job. That's okay. So we had 2 children by then. We were living off of Eileen's salary alone, and there I was in school full time. And I needed to go. I had to get my undergrad degree. I had to get my graduate degree. At first, I was going to become a psychologist, which was another 4 years after getting my undergrad degree. So, but luckily, so I did it. And the fun thing about that is on a daily basis, I'd be sitting down at the kitchen table with my son in high school, my daughter in middle school. We're all doing homework together. I was like, oh, great. So they were able to help me with some of my math problems that they were just going through. I said, how the hell do you figure that one out? So, and then I would help them with some of their questions that I was learning in college.
What a beautiful bond, though. What a beautiful bond.
It was a beautiful bond. It was incredible. And so I finished the degree. That was the first car accident that wound up making me go back to school and taking me out of my business. So here I am now, mind you. Now I have all these tools. So I'm a psychotherapist, but I'm a psychic. So if anybody turns around and says, "Oh, Vince, yeah, I know him. He's psycho and psychic." I'm both. I am
It's
psycho
a
and
balance.
psychic.
It's a
It
balance,
totally is a
Vinny.
balance, but you got to make sure you put the word therapist after that. Otherwise, people
It's,
start wondering, you know what I mean? Therapist,
yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And so there I am having all of this, and I was still not knowing what to do with all those tools. You just do it part time and therapy and everything was going slow, and I didn't like working for the company I was working for. Then all of a sudden changed, and hospice became a business now. They didn't want me to do any work with my clients. They just wanted me to pull in the numbers. Oh, just go sign them up, that's your job, and then refer them out to some other agency if they need psychological help. And I'm like, that's not the role of a clinical social worker doing hospice work. You're supposed to be there for the patient. That's the relationship you develop.
Mhm.
So I didn't like that anymore. And here goes another prayer. You think I would have learned the first time? God, you got to get me out of this business, but then show me what it is I'm meant to do. Boom, second car accident. I'm hit from the rear on the way to my patient's house. I sustained brainstem injury. I can't do my work. I'm on workers' compensation. I can't even be a social worker anymore because in the state of North Carolina, you need a driver's license. You need to be able to drive. I can't drive anymore. I got double vision. I can't see. My license is taken away, everything. So I'm going through that and I'm like, okay, you took this all away now. Now what? Boy, oh boy, what, a second car accident? I want to know who makes arrangements up there when we pray. Okay. It's just like, what? Two times in my life I was in the car accidents. The only two times in my life I can say that a pretty woman hit on me.
Physically.
Because both of them were young blondes driving cars and wasn't paying attention and hit me from behind. But at least I can say they hit on me. That, right? Can I use that? Does that
Yeah,
work?
we'll give you that. I mean, it's really up to
Okay, give me that.
Eileen.
No, yeah,
she's like whatever,
just, yeah,
whatever you
yeah.
need.
If you want to believe anybody hit on you, Vince, go ahead. You just go for it.
Oh gosh.
So that changed me, and now here we are. In that, what do I do? What do I do with all of this? This is what people go through, though. Even if they don't know what their skills are, they're always asking, what do I do? Why am I here? Who am I? What am I supposed to do? Okay, so everybody tells me I'm a great organizer. So what am I supposed to do with that? Okay, everybody tells me I'm good with words. What am I supposed to do with that? And being an actor, and I was giving that up now. I said, okay, I went along with it. I gave up acting. I had just done, North Carolina theater because that was part-time. That wasn't really Broadway. I was
But it
still
was
able
our
to, just like
outlet.
everybody, it was our
Yeah, it
outlet
was
to
a
be able
chance
to
for us
perform,
to
right?
grab onto what we loved dearly.
But
Yeah.
then I was like, but wait, but that's not going anywhere. And it's not completely fulfilling me. So I was asking for help, and all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, in my email, normally a lot of stuff went to my junk mail, but I get an email from Hay House, which is one of the top spiritual and self-help publishing companies in the world, started by Louise Hay. And they're giving a class, Become a Mover and Shaker. Become a Mover and Shaker. Wow. And so that drew me in right away. And I'm like, okay, I want to do this. Then another email comes in, another advertisement, become the next top spiritual author contest. And a spiritual author, I can write a book, I can do something. And so now I'm dealing with people like Neil Donald Walsh is a teacher, Marianne Williamson is a teacher. We actually spoke with them directly, and it blossomed into a complete full-time job while I'm at home, unable to work, on workers' comp. At the same time, that we had moved my parents in with us to take care of them, and they were both going downhill, but I was there at home to be able to help them, me developing a new life. And I finally, Hilary, at that point, grasped onto it and said, okay, I'll go with it. But I can't tell you how hard it was to let go of what I thought I wanted. The acting, it served my purpose well because you put me in front of a crowd and I can grab their attention. I know how to grab their hearts in the palm of my hand. I know how to comfort them. And then I know how to feed them the information they need to hear. And I do it lovingly and I can do it hard, but I can also do it empowering them, and they walk away thanking me and feeling strength and feeling they can transform their lives. But I had to do that at the same time. I had to do that work.
All of these messages over the years, all of these messages that you were receiving,
totally.
that's such a powerful thing that I want to share with, reiterate to listeners, is that we get these messages in our lives and so many times we fight them. And I went through it too. But it's when we start listening, when we start asking the questions, when we start just having the true ability to just sit back and receive, that's where the messages actually mean what they're supposed to mean. We can't fight it. Those messages keep coming. No matter what.
You fight. Well, this is the way I put it. This is like, okay, so if you need to hear something, your soul will send you a message. If you don't get the message, it'll send you a lesson. If you don't get the lesson, it'll send you a crisis or a trauma. But it's going to keep going, and life in the universe is going to keep sending you that message until you get it. Now, unfortunately, you can get all the way down into the ground refusing to get the message, refusing to take the hint. But you can't say you're not getting the help because it's always there. It's turned on 24/7. And I, as an example, had constantly gone against that. Did not want to follow because I was so intent on my human beliefs of what I thought I wanted to do. And it's like, take a kid into Toys R Us, right? And the kid says, and the parent turns around and says, okay, honey, go over to this section because you can get any toy you want, but I think you're really going to like what's over. No. I want to go and get my own toy. I want to get my own toy. Yeah, okay. But if you go over here, I know that that's the toys you're really going to. No, I want to go get. All right. Go ahead, go get your own toy. And inevitably, the kid's running through the stores. He's grabbing everything. He's picking up. I think I want this. And no, and he puts it back. Well, I think I want this. And if he's wise enough and smart enough or learns eventually, he'll go back to the parent and he'll say, all right, what did you say you think I really wanted? Because I can't find anything I want. I said, come on, let me show you. And it has nothing to do with that part of you wants to control you and manipulate you. It knows what you really want. Source, spirit, whatever you want to call it, God, that higher part that we're connected to, knows what we want. And it's not going to get us something else. But as humans, like I said, because I grasped onto singing and acting as a survival mechanism, I immediately translated that ability into that must be my destiny. Mm-hmm. When it was just a tool, like you said, it was a tool to be used to do what I'm doing now. Now, put me on a stage. I love being on a stage, of course. I love reaching people. But if it was a choice of doing a show or put me in an arena with 80,000 people and talking about this stuff, there's no doubt in my mind where I want to go.
I hear you. I feel this. Yeah. It's like, all of that prepped us for what we're prepared to do. And the love of being able to sing, which you have a beautiful voice. I love singing with you.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you.
Oh gosh. It's just so, like, you're powerful. but that's a tool in your toolbox that is creating the space for something even
Right.
grander to reach more people than an audience of 2,000 in a theater. You now have the capacity to reach so many more, and it's an aha moment, right? It's an aha.
Oh, it is. I tell people when I'm on the stage, and it puts me in tears every time I tell them. I said, I wish I can bring you up here and you feel what I feel talking with all of you. If we, to me, the greatest therapy for the most antisocial person is to give him or her what they're really crying for: attention, to be cared for. They've not experienced that in their lives. If you can take one of them and put them on a stage and say, just share your story. And then the audience is with them and they're going, oh my God, he's so inspiring. Oh my God, that makes me feel so good listening to him. When you make another human being feel good, it's so far greater than making another human being feel bad. They would never try to make another human being feel so bad again. When I get off the stage and I see people crying, it's not that just because I did that. Yes, of course, there's where the joy is that I did something to raise their level, but they're feeling it now. They're feeling great about themselves. And so that empowers me even more because there's such joy behind it. And we would get along so much greater if we just experience that each, that, and even your listeners right now, unless they've done any kind of work like this, is servicing work, where another person said, you've changed my life for the better, they will never know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because you have to hear that from a human. And if you listen close enough, when your friends, your family, your neighbor turns around and says, thank you so much, that made a difference, and you take that in right here, you go, oh, wow, good. It feels so good. That's why we were put on the earth together. I don't want to be the only one feeling great about my life. I'm happy, fine, but I want my brothers and sisters to share in that. Why should I be the only one having all of this joy when you can all have the joy? So I'm going to ask you a question now, even though you're the host, right? What empowers you to keep doing your work, helping others?
Because I know there's an infinite amount of joy and happiness in this world, and we all have that ability and capacity to feel it. And I know from my own shift, there's no limit. It's all about abundance. And I come from the same space. It's realizing that the more we are in that space, the more we can do for one another.
Mm-hmm. But don't you listen to the news and you hear how bad it's gotten?
I
And
do.
Doesn't that tear you down and dissuade you from wanting to help? What do you say?
It causes me to think deeper and go deeper to what I'm feeling when I hear those things. We've been in a narcissistic relationship the last 4 years that we just finally got out of, right? So in my mind, I think every time I would turn on the news, and look, I'm a former news anchor. I lived it. I was on air during 9/11. I was on air. I've covered stories about COVID and the the epidemic from drugs, and I mean, I've done a lot of trauma journalism, and I can't internalize it in a way where it brings me down. What it does is it causes me to go deeper and be like, why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? How can I empower myself and others to see that this isn't part of us? It's a way of building that awareness, allowance, and then alignment with who we want to be.
That's right. That's how I know, and this is for everybody, how you can tell you're doing the work you're meant to do
Totally.
is when you're at your worst and you want to do it more.
Bingo. I mean, it was my own shift. Yeah, totally.
When I hear the negativity, I'm like, I'm pulling up my pants and I'm buckling my belt. I'm going, okay, all right, give me more. I want more. Train me more. Train me more. I mean, I'm the only. It's so funny because when I was a psychotherapist, and you would know this, you have to go for a certain amount of hours each year or every 2 years in order to keep up your license, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as a clinical social worker, I needed 40 hours every 2 years of continuing education credits. Okay, all right. So now I'm a full-time psychic medium and spiritual teacher. Where do I go for my CEUs? Everybody else thinks I'm nuts, but I'm looking, and then I get directed. And I actually was directed to this very old institution, the Arthur Findlay College of Psychic Sciences in England,
Mm-hmm.
with some of the greatest tutors of this work. And I go there and I'm studying. And they even were confused. They're like, why are you here? You don't need to be here.
Mm.
And I'm like, yes, I do. I don't understand. I'm feeding. I came here and said anything I think I know about being a psychic or a medium, I'm putting away because now I'm going to school. And it actually caused them to respect me because they said a lot of Americans come over
Yes.
just so that they can say that they trained here.
Yeah.
Said, but we see you actually doing the work. You're unbelievable. You can even be teaching here.
I love that you bring that up because I just had this conversation, a really empowering conversation with a fellow colleague. And the thing that I grab onto is that we're never done learning. So while I'm certified in certain modalities, why does that mean I'm done practicing it? Why does it mean that I won't go back and do group sessions where we learn from each other? And who says there's not more to learn? It's like, I get it. There are some people that just go to get the letters after their name, and then they never do anything with it, but try to say, hey, I do this. And then there's the people like, okay, I have the letters, but I'm a student of life and I can get rusty. Right. And what is more to learn? And I want to empower others in the best way I possibly can by continuing to be a student of life and learn new things, or don't let what I know get rusty.
Right. You're getting tools.
Yes,
you're getting
constantly
more tools
in the toolbox.
And when you look at this world, okay, in my realm, Hilary, and I know you may even have some of your own listeners right now who will be disappointed with what I'm about to say. First of all, reality is all perception. Everything is an illusion anyway. However, the reality that I'm talking about is what you can view. Okay, what you can view. So, in other words, if I look outside and it's raining, my reality lets me know, oh, it's raining outside. It's not a perception. I don't have to worry about how I'm interpreting that. I can see it. So, we as clinicians and helpers need to see and be able to see what may need healing, what needs work. Okay. So we're going to see the bad. We're going to see the negative. Of course, we see all the opportunities as well, which many other people don't see. However, what I'm not going to do in my world, especially the paranormal world and the metaphysical world, is look at everything and say, this is divine planning. This is universal planning. It's all happening to help us. And I'm like, bull crap. It's not happening to help us. That's our choice to make it help us, but it's happening because we're creating it. And I don't think we need to create it. You don't have to fall in the hole to learn how to climb. And that you don't need that, you can break an ankle falling in the hole just so that you can learn how to climb up a rope and get out of a hole. That we're all going to do that because we have soul. Every time somebody turns around and says, if life throws you lemons, make lemonade. Of course, we're going to make lemonade. We're spiritual beings. That doesn't mean that we're using the tools the right way. It just shows that we're more than. And we don't settle for the garbage. But it doesn't mean to keep throwing the lemons at each other because that's what we're supposed to do. I'm like, no. So I look at the world today and I'm going, it's not gotten that much better. The knowledge is more available, but knowledge being available isn't wisdom until you use it and apply it.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't tell me just because now you've got these phones and these computers that can put all the information in your hand that you're now spiritual, because we have still all these killings. If you look at the past several years, the past decades, there's been more traumas and crises, one right after another. It used to be crisis. 10 or 20 years goes by, everybody settles down,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe another crisis, and then everybody learns, and we go shift to maybe a little bit higher. No. We're going crisis after crisis after crisis. So I can't use just one tool.
Mm-mm.
I can't just say this one thing is going to fix it. Give me. What else do I need to learn here? I don't care. Bring it in. Bring it in. I'll get another tool. So that way I am loaded now
Mm-hmm.
when I go out into the universe, because we need that much to empower people today. And sometimes you need chisels and hammers to crack away their defensive shell. Yeah. So, yes, that's we're sculptors in some way, but of course, it's always about the person does
Mm.
the healing. But you need somebody to believe in you. I'll go back to the old days. One of the known and famous healers in the world, of course, started one of the world's largest religions. That was Jesus. But everybody wants to say that Jesus did the healing. He never once took credit for doing the healing. Never once. He said, "You are healed because of your belief." But what people don't understand is the reason why somebody was able to believe that they could be healed is because he believed it so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He believed in them because he knew who they really were. And because of his belief in them, it made them believe in themselves. So here is what I feel our greatest job is reflecting everybody's greatness back to them, but through our eyes for now, so that they can see who they really are rather than seeing themselves through their own hurt filtered vision. That's how
Yeah.
I feel I do my greatest work, is if I can believe in you, and if you can see yourself at least for a moment through my eyes, you'll like what you see, and then you will pick it up or can pick it up from there.
Absolutely. And, it's funny. I just had this conversation with a new client the other day who was feeling the resistance. And I remember saying, I'm going to mirror back to you what you're already telling me, but it's illuminating through you and your efforts, because a great coach, practitioner, therapist, whatever you want to call it, whatever your license is, whatever letters, numbers, hieroglyphics are after your name, they're going to see in you what you can't see in yourself.
Right.
I don't want
They
the
have to.
power to like, I want to give you the power back.
Right. I
And
want you to know who you really are.
exactly. And it scares people sometimes because, as you know, and I know, people come to us because they're like,
Oh,
I just want help. I just want to heal. I want to feel better. And I've been there too. And you've been there too with the traumas we've been through. Sometimes people don't want to know how neuroscience works. I get that a lot too because of the work
right.
I do. They don't want to know the science all the time. They just like tell me what I need to put on this cut to make this heal. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You need to do the work. You need to clean
You
the
need to do the
wound.
work.
You need to like stop touching the
Mm-hmm.
wound, and you
You need to
need
do the
to,
work.
yes. So yes, it's hard, but like
You need to
if it
commit to
wasn't, it wouldn't
yourself.
be life, right?
That's right. You need to be able to do that work as hard as it is, but it's so worthy.
Mm.
I even get some clients tell me, I don't know if I can see that I'm as good as you believe I am.
Yet,
Right. The yet part is what I say yet
right?
for them. But to them, they're scared in sometimes the way I see them.
And it's also
And I
being,
give them evidence. I'm
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to
No, I
interrupt.
was going to
But
say,
as a psychic, I can give them evidence of their gifts
yeah.
that they may be poo-pooing or talking aside. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. Didn't you do this? And didn't your girlfriend turn around and she was in a bad moment in her life? And she came to you and said that because of you, she was able to get through that. Didn't you do, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm feeling it. Oh, no, I did that. I did. And what do you think? That was nothing? You think that's worthless? That just everybody does that these days? No. Just like, so you did that then, and do you think that there's another time that you did that? Yeah. Do you think all these people keep coming to you and talking to you? Do you think maybe you should be doing something with that and making money for a change with it? So it's funny, the process we have to take them through for them to sometimes really see what you see.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's fun,
of course,
too.
It's always easier. Well, I will say this. My survival in my entire life, even though I thought it was my music and everything, it was Eileen. She was the first and only person in my life who saw me and believed in me and saw my gifts. And any time that I would forget them, she would remind me. But she saw in me. And that is what was meant. And I even had to look up this passage. It really doesn't say, there is nothing in the Bible that says one man can save a nation. That's not the actual passage. What the passage is in the Old Testament is about God saying, if there is a person who would stand in the wall as a brick for you, that can change your entire life. Now, that translates into if a person can believe in you deep enough and is willing to stand up for you, with you, in place of you, whatever, then you need to know that that's how good you are. It's just that's all you need is one person who's willing to do that. And she was the one person whose belief in me took the place of my self-belief until I could get it. And even today, she's still helping me with that because people have to understand that every injury causes scars. And you may take care of the injury and the issues that the injuries cause, but every so often you're being influenced still by that little voice inside you that wants to say, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, that's not going to happen. And you have to be on top of that voice constantly. And maybe we set that up for ourselves, Hilary, as a dangling carrot to constantly motivate us to pay attention. But we have to pay attention to that voice. I've spent 65 years of my life, actually, only 37, going on 38
I thought you were
now.
20. I thought we started this, you were in your 20s.
I know.
Transparency,
I'm
Vinny.
my age. I'm giving away my age. But I've spent all that work constantly talking with little Vinny because he was scarred. And anybody who turns around and says that they can forget their past, you're a fool trying, okay? You want to use your past, but you can cut off your arm easier than you can forget your past. It comes with you.
Absolutely.
And you're not supposed to get rid of it. Why did you let your past be chapter 1? And what did you say? We said we had that conversation.
Well, I say
you're next.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you say?
I say it that like our story is part of who we are, and we have the ability to change the narrative. It doesn't say the story goes away, but our mess is our message, our traumas are our triumphs, and our pain is the basis of our true power. And when we really realize that, and when we see that your story doesn't mean you have to live in the past, you are the author of your life. Use that story for good and continue the book of your life going forward.
That's right. I want everybody to understand this. I just shared with you the torment and the trauma I went through. I can define for you in detail whatever you want during the sexual abuse, during any of the beatings that I received, during any of those torments, and not one hair on the back of my neck raises, not one pain in my heart, not one tear wells up in my eyes because I did do the work. And again, that doesn't mean that little Vinny's not going to sneak his way through every so often when he's feeling doubtful. But the actual pain, you can remember your story and it not hurt, especially when you do something with your life that you love and enjoy. And when you believe in yourself, it goes hand in hand. When you start believing in yourself, the path unfolds. You have the power to see dreams, to have goals, and then to pursue them. And then that path, the universe helps you find the next step the more you believe. So you can look at your past and go, wow, did I go? I wrote a book and it's now getting published. God, it's not
Mhm.
working. I'm thrilled about it. And in there, I do write my beginning story. And when I was writing it, I was like, man, little Vinny, wow. You went through hell, but I'm so proud of you with the choices that you made at times. All right, so you made some mistakes, and it's okay. I felt such compassion for that little kid, and I realized then, wait, that little kid is me. This is like, so why do I want to get rid of him? I don't want to get rid of him. I want to embrace him. He's already
Nurture.
had enough abuse,
Hmm.
right? He was already rejected. He was already emotionally and physically abused. Why would I want to do anything to get rid of him? I tell that to people who, again, in my realm, we have a lot of spiritual people that change their names and they find Sanskrit names for themselves, or they're made up names because they don't want their birth names. And then they come to me for guidance, help, and a reading. And one of the first things I say is, you have to change your name back to your birth name. Because what you're doing right now is the reason why you're blocking yourself. Because you're saying you don't like your past, but you're also saying you don't like that little child. And you're trying to get rid of that little child instead of embracing that little child. Why would you want to get rid of any part of you at all when all you need to do is relove that little child, that person, that part of you? Changing your name does not get rid of your past. You're taking the same problems with you under a different title.
Something I
It's
love to
just,
do with my students and my clients is I do the name game, and it's very empowering. And I use this in my workshops as well. Is that take your name, Vincent, Hilary, and what values do you put with each letter of your name? Like for me, it's
ooh,
honesty, integrity, love, authenticity, resilience, your name, Hilary. And the name you have is not, it's given to you. You don't have a choice. You come, well, I mean, maybe in a higher power,
right.
it's given
When
to you.
higher power you did,
But
yes.
mom and dad give you your name. You know what it means. Like I know Hilary means Latin for cheerful and merry. That's great. I live it. But then I go deeper and I'm like, what does my name mean to me? It's the
That's right.
honesty, integrity, love, authenticity, resilience, yearning. What does Vincent mean? If your name is Ed
Oh,
and you have two
yeah.
letters, go for it. Build more
Oh,
on it.
that's easy.
Right.
Vincent, I got to go longer, but
Yeah,
that's
like,
okay.
but
Victorious,
right, like use this time to like my
integrity,
students
yes.
love it and my clients
I
love
like
doing it,
that.
and it's part of the work that I love to do where I'm like, I'm handing you the gift to create and design your life. So do it.
That's
Start
right.
with your name and then you're living your values.
And it's so worth it. See,
Yeah.
the rainbow that comes at the end of the storm and the crock of gold that's at the end, all these little stories that we have heard are all for a reason and a meaning. And it's all metaphysical and
Mm-hmm.
metaphoric to let us know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal to this isn't just, and here's where religion was wrong, especially Christianity. It has nothing to do with doing this work now so you can wait until you die. That way, heaven is better. Because I'll go back to that spiritual leader again who said the kingdom of heaven is not a place, it resides within you. So you can make heaven here and heaven there, or you can make hell here and hell there. It is completely up to you and in your power. And so you're doing this work not for touchy feely to say that you're a good person and you're not going to receive anything. You're going to gain everything by doing this work. You're going to gain the ability to create the life you want and manifest what you want and tap into abundance of life. Those are the rewards for doing the work. So it's not just letters at the end of your name.
Right.
And so many people do things or join religions just to say they have,
Mm-hmm.
and you see no improvement in their lives. And so you're like, so why are you going? Why you going? You go week after week to service, and then you get back out into your car with the shotgun in the side because you're going to make sure that nobody is going to threaten you or your family. Otherwise, you're going to blow their heads off. Wow, you just learned a lot that weekend. This is like, why are you doing this? And then you're complaining about why your life is miserable and that you even have to worry about somebody hurting you. That's not the way to live. With arms all the time, there's emotional arms and there's physical arms and weapons. And you should have neither of them because it's not a way to live, to be in total fear that somebody's going to hurt you, threaten you. But I get it because they did when you were younger. So why wouldn't you believe otherwise as an adult? You carry that with you, but you can let go of it and gain so much more.
Absolutely.
Believe me. And we're examples of that. You and I are examples of that.
I was just going to say that.
I cannot tell you and I told everybody January 2021, I told everybody in my predictions, this is a year of fulfillment. This is for everybody to understand. I don't care if you don't have any dream written out right now or know anything. Find one. What is it you really want for your life? What is it that you want for your career? What is it that you want for your health, your financial situation, your romantic or your relationship issue? What do you want for your life? Write it down and plan on it because the energy of this year is about fulfillment. Within the first 20 days of January, 3 of my dreams that I've had for such a long time, boom, 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 right after another, one right after another, kept happening. And things keep happening. That so much is happening that I'm going to have to hire myself and organize it to help me organize my time. That's how much is going on. And because it comes in like a total abundance. And so I'm not special. I'm not special, Hilary. I'm an idiot, and some people think of that I'm an ass, from this New York Italian arrogant guy. I understand, I get it, it's funny. But I'm like every other person, and maybe even worse because it took me so long to accept it finally. Some do it a lot quicker than I do. But the point is that I'm not achieving this because I'm special. I'm achieving it because I'm like everybody else, a child of something high, a power, a force, and everything that I have is within everybody else. And I've just learned how to use it and do the work. Now, I said I'm 65 years old and it's taken me a long time to do it, but I didn't give up. I committed to myself, and the proof is in the pudding of my life right now. And it can be with everybody else. Commitment, integrity, congruence. Walk your talk. That's congruence. Walk it every day. Okay. Integrity. Know your values and words to walk. And commitment, commit to yourself to do this work because you're worth it. Don't let go of that commitment. A phrase that I developed is what really got me through a lot of things in my life, including, as trite as this may sound, quitting smoking. Both Eileen and I were smokers for 33 years of our lives, and we enjoyed it. We loved it. Okay. When Eileen had our first baby, she's in the other room, so I can share.
Keep looking off screen. It's cracking me up.
I know. When Eileen had our first baby, it was back in the days where you're in the hospital and they take the baby and they put the baby in the nursery, bring you back to your room, clean you up, and then ask you to bring in the kid. So she went through hell during delivering our first kid. And so, he's off in the nursery and then Eileen's all settled in and the nurse comes in and says, "So do you want to see your baby boy?" And Eileen turns around and says, "No, I want a cigarette and a Kahlua and cream first." That's how much we love smoking.
I can't.
So, I know.
I can't.
Our poor kid, you would think he'd have some major problems today because
or at least like completely drunk from breast milk with a Kahlua.
Exactly. From that at that point. So that's how much we smoke. But at 50 years old, I said to myself, no. I love myself so much that I'm going to do anything that I need to do to experience my greatest existence here because I deserve it.
Mm.
And I threw away the cigarettes. Eileen threw away the cigarettes, never had an urge again, never went back to them again. And that is the phrase I use to keep moving my life forward. I love myself so much. And I had to fake that in the beginning, but I love myself so much. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to experience the greatest existence here because I deserve it. And the because I deserve it is really the most important part. You deserve to experience your greatness and who you are and all your abilities. And you should never give up. And you should do the work you need to do to experience it because it is worth it. And the promise is, and it happens all the time, you can go from having absolutely nothing to having absolutely everything overnight. It's been shown over and over and over again through time. So you don't need to have everything overnight, but just show you that you can achieve. You can go from being homeless to having a home, to having a wonderful life, to having a career, to having your dreams, because that's what the universe is made of. Unlimited ability. And we have the dominion over all of that. We are the creators and the manifestors of all of that. And we're manifesting every single day of our lives what we want or what we don't want. But we're manifesting it.
Amen to that. That's what I always say. That's why I always say this statement, be kind to your mind, because we don't give the brain enough power. I use it all the time because it's a reminder to myself too. Hashtag be kind to your mind. Because when we are in that space of being kind to ourselves and being kind to what we're thinking and everything we're putting out there in the world, you're going to mirror back that which you want. So we have to be very careful what we ask for and what we put out there. And that means being in check with your inner child, being in check with who you are and what you're thinking. But when we come from that place of kindness to self, we have so much more of a capacity to be kind to others.
Absolutely. Unconditional self-belief and self-love.
Amen.
Unconditional self-belief and self-love is what we need. And yes, absolute kindness. So, because we've not been treated kindly. The universe the environment that we were in growing up didn't necessarily treat us kindly. Everything was passed down from generation to generation. That's not just to blame all the parents of the world, but just because you become a parent doesn't make you perfect at knowing how to raise a child or what that child needs spiritually and emotionally.
Yeah.
When couples used to come to me and they said they were going to get married and start a family, they would ask, what's your best advice? And I would tell them, take care of your issues, but do it together. Take care of your issues, do it together, and you will raise those kids just fine. But if you don't, you will pass down your issues to them.
Yeah, ancestral trauma is real. It is real.
Yes, it is.
I don't even know if people really fully know what that means, but get in touch with.
Oh, I do.
Well, we do.
I even had my DNA tested, and I come to find out that my father's side of the family has Neanderthal in them. So, yes, and that was passed all the way down through his lineage, that's for sure, all the way down to me. The kookiest side of that family, oh my God, crazy. They used to get together that side and throw meatballs at each other for fun.
I'm going back in my head now, and I'm imagining you in like Neanderthal times.
Oh, you don't want to imagine that. Never imagine me in a loincloth.
I need that visual out of my head right now.
No, get it out. Get it out. Get it out. Yes.
So look, you have shared so much, Vin. I mean, absolutely so much love for you. You've shared so much. You're doing so many beautiful things. You have so much on the horizon. There's so much more. And you've given listeners an abundance of tools to put in their own toolbox and realize that there's no limit, right? But I want to play a quick game with you.
Oh, okay. I'm good. What do I win?
What do you win, Johnny? You
candy
win.
Bar. It's fine.
Right. I mean, look, I'd love to share space with you right now to sing too, if you wanted to. Oh, you want to drop a line or two? What's something you always had
Oh,
like a couple am I putting you on the spot?
no, I'm like trying to think of what would we even sing. I'm trying to think of even a show song or I don't know. Maybe you can come up with some things. Um, um,
What is it you
oh,
always
I know,
what?
I know.
What?
Weren't you in Fiddler on the Roof
I
with me?
was.
Okay, with Paul Servino.
Yeah, we did Paul Servino in Fiddler on the Roof. That was such a
Oh,
fun show. By the way,
it
fun
was, yes.
fact, producer of Holistically Speaking, Mr. Alan Seals, was our fiddler.
Yes, he was. That's right. He was in it. That's right.
So
That's
let's
right,
let's
Alan.
do a
That's the first
shout
time
out
that I heard it.
to
Alan,
Alan,
yeah.
my podcast work husband. Yes.
And do you remember? I will always remember this. One of my greatest acting flubs in my life was during Fiddler on the Roof. Do you remember at all what it was? I never lived it down, even after I saw the actors after that show.
I think we probably
Do you
both
remember?
had a moment of that, but you share yours
No,
first.
but I will share mine because it was the best one. So here
Oh
I am,
no.
Mortka the innkeeper, right?
Right.
And I am doing the wedding scene. And I turn around and I say, so let's all be merry and happy like our good friend Laser Smith, who has everything in the world except a wife. And all of a sudden, you hear behind me, did he just say Laser
There's
Smith?
Smith. I'm like sitting here, I'm trying to remember if I remember that. I'm like, it's Wolf, but
I know it was in the wedding scene,
that is
and I
hilarious.
had to do everything to stop. I was like, where the
How
hell
did that come from?
did they got that? Laser Smith. It's like not even enough, like Laser Schwartz,
Yeah,
Laser
you went totally
Babinski.
you went Anglo-Saxon on everyone.
And Jason Babinski was behind me. He was one of the bottle dancers, right? And he was oh, I forgot. He was the rabbi's son. He was I forgot the name. Mortka? No, I was Mortka. He was whatever. I forgot what the rabbi's son was. But he
Bob.
never let me, I know Bob, let
Bob
me
Smith.
live that down. That
Yeah.
all I heard was Smith, Smith. So throughout the rest of the show in that scene, whenever there was hub, 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 they'd walk around going, Smith, 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 Smith.
I'm trying to remember if I remember that. It could be because my moment gave me a slight concussion. And that was
No, what happened to you?
when we were walking, when I don't know if it wasn't the opening scene, because obviously that's tradition, like that's
Right,
our opening
right,
powerful
right.
scene. It was when there was a change on set, and I was pushing some cart because we had multiple roles when we were, and one of the scrims came down and hit me on the
Came down
head,
the bar.
and so I always have
Oh!
this running joke that Anna Tefka fell on my head.
And it fell on your
So I
head.
might have been in
Oh
a
my
slight
God.
right, and like Brian Landry comes running
With the,
out, and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I
oh
think
my.
so." I'm like, "Are we in Kansas anymore?" We're gonna play a little game. We're going back to the game, which I think I might have
Oh,
mentioned
the game.
like
Yes, I'm
30
sorry.
minutes
Yeah.
ago.
Good.
All right, so I'm gonna throw out a word, and these are words that I kind of write down as you're talking, as we're talking and sharing and having our conversation. And what I want you to do is with that one word, it's word association, throw back the first word that comes to mind. And I don't pre-write these down.
Ooh,
These are words I write down as we're in discussion here.
okay. All right.
So
I
like
can attest to this.
put
Okay.
on your cap. You can't look off to the left or the
I'm
right to
not.
grab
I'm not looking
Eileen.
at her.
There's no call a friend. There's
Okay.
no
No problem.
lifeline.
All
This
right.
is
Here we
you.
go. Oh, I love games, though. I
All
love
right.
games. Okay.
One word.
All right.
Just one word.
One word.
Don't make me turn this car around. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Bullying,
Pain.
trauma,
Healing.
acting,
Oh, touching.
therapist,
Help.
psychic,
Deep.
commitment,
Yourself.
integrity,
Genuineness.
congruence,
Always.
fulfillment,
Love.
faith.
Everything.
That it is. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. Wow. That was interesting.
I know. And you were good. You were good.
Oh, I hope interesting.
Yeah. And you know what I love about that, doing that, is that every time I do that, the word love comes back in one of those words. It's always there, which is like, yes, this is why I pick the most, I pick them, they pick me, we pick each other as guests on this podcast because it's an alignment, which is my word of
Right.
the year.
Right. And it's so funny that you use the word faith. I just did my radio show on Wednesday on Unity Online Radio, and I was talking about faith. I was talking about that, and that faith isn't about a faith in a religion, a
Right.
faith in a God, a faith in it's about a, a faith that knowing
Yeah.
that you come from love, you are love, you're made of love, and it's so funny that the word that came right back in when you said faith. Yes, it's about faith in knowing how lovable you are, and that it's everything is all about love, love of your life, love of your career, love of your vocation, love of your relationships.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
really is all about love. That's what it comes down to. And love is healing,
Love is
the
healing.
most healing thing,
Love is healing. Absolutely.
right? I had such a great time with you
This
in
was
this.
amazing. But let me just say thank you for being here, being such a light,
Oh,
and
you're so
being
welcome.
so much of, I don't even know how to express it, except I love you. I'm so glad you're a friend.
Mm.
And I love everything that you're manifesting and creating in this world and bringing into this world to share with others.
Same with you, Hilary. Same with you. We mirror each other. We're a reflection. The only reason why you can see any kind of trait like that in me is because it lies there within inside of yourself. So I'm so proud of what you're doing and excited for you and where your world is going to.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going.
So thank you for having me on. This has been fun.
If you're ready to unlock and release your passion and your purpose and learn more about Vincent, connect with him through his website. The link is available on the podcast page. And if you have a great story to tell on Holistically Speaking, or you'd like to learn more about how we can work together personally, just connect with me on my website at hilaryrusso.com. You can also reach out to me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at Hilary Russo. I would love to hear from you. Holistically Speaking is produced by Alan Seals with music by Litbone Redding. We are all aligned, my friend, and it's why you're here. So thanks for listening. And if you like what you hear, consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing this podcast. I appreciate your support. And until next time, be kind to your mind and don't forget to laugh.